Hello and welcome to our Storage Mindful Parenting Facebook group. Today I will be talking with Dr. Lori Baudino, a licensed child psychologist. Dr. Lori and I have been working with each other for quite some time now. She has supported me for many, many years as a preschool director and also with my 14-year-old son. So how are you, Dr. Lori?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. And again, also apologies for the technical difficulties as we all navigate this system during COVID and on. I know we're not alone, Susan. This happens all the time.
So sorry about that. First off, I just want to ask a little about you and your background with children and mindful parenting.
Yeah, thanks for having me. As you mentioned, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I'm also a board certified dance movement therapist, which means I use the lens of the body. If pathology, illness, challenges are experienced in the body and we live life through our movements, what better way than to understand a child, not only from their psychological and emotional states in terms of that mental cognition that's going on there, but also this bottom up approach of looking at the body, how the body expresses emotions, holds feelings, and interacts with the world. So I also collaborate with you, Susan, and other professionals, other doctors to look at the whole picture, really an integrative approach. And mindfulness, as your group is so aware of, is so important, especially during this time. So I'm excited to jump in and answer any questions we have.
Well, then let's get to it. So basically, I gathered a couple of questions that seem to be constantly popping up in our Facebook group, but also a few that parents have asked. So let's just get into it. The first hot topic that seems to be coming up is cleanup. Whether it's their room or the room that they're currently in, what is the most mindful way to support our children in cleaning up after themselves, after their messes?
Yeah, it's a really important area actually to talk about because cleanup, as we know, has a bigger goal in mind, and that is that we want to be caring and thoughtful about our items that we own, that we care for. And we also wanted to have some really clear understanding of beginning, middle, and end, that we have meaningful relationships with not only each other, but our environment. And that can start with our toys, that can start within our home, and then we can expand out, hopefully, to our environment. So how do we do this? There's so many things you can read on blog posts and books out there. What I would love to emphasize today is just that we start with agreements in your family. We start by setting by example. So sometimes we don't want to just dive in and tell our children what to do, but we want to join them. We want to show them that this is a collective experience that the whole family participates in. So if you could give yourself permission to clean up with your child. As you can imagine, in schools, they use songs. We put on music, which helps with timing and rhythm. We create environments that elicit cleanup. So having spaces that have functional uses like boxes, containers, labels, and everything has its space. What's important is that when we're doing this together, we're making it enjoyable and we're making it minimal. So rather than just looking at a whole space and saying, hey, you need to clean this up, we might start with thinking about details. Let's clean up the yellow ones, then let's clean up the red ones, let's clean up the big pieces or the small pieces, and really making it a collaborative approach. Again, I can't emphasize this enough, Susan, that when it's meaningful, like a child knows why they're doing it, and it's not just because they're told to, like, oh, but because I said so, you have to clean it up because I don't like the mess. We can get to that relationship piece of like, hey, we do for others, that we want to treat others well, and if it makes mommy happy, let's give that. But even more so when our child values their object and knows where it is and has a special spot for it a second they buy it. When that ritual begins from the beginning, it stays with them for life.
I love that. What really resonated with me just now was agreements. Can you touch base on the agreement part of it? Because I'm sure it looks different for like my 14-year-old
Sure.
with an agreement to a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old just learning that important task.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreements take time. So we need to sit together, not when the mess is happening, not when we're in a rush, but actually setting them ahead of time and saying, in our household for this week, Hey, it's Monday, we're doing morning meeting before school starts, or maybe it's Sunday evening before the week begins, and saying, hey, I really, really need our house to present itself so that we have enough space to do our homeschooling, to move around, to have our meals, and I need everyone to participate. So what does this look like? What agreements are you making? So I'm going to take care of my space and one child is taking care of theirs. Does it mean that children are swapping and they take care of each other's space and they're trading for the day? I clean up for you, you clean up for me. Hey, if I make the beds, you get to take out the trash. So what do you need to get done in your house? And we can write them down. A lot of kids that are needing repetitive answers, like repetitive demands, requests, you feel like you're repeating yourself, start writing it down. Find another avenue to present that material to them.
I love that. So what I'm hearing, what I'm taking away from this is set up an agreement beforehand. Always set it up beforehand, right?
Absolutely. And less is more. Don't go for a million different things you want to tackle. Start with one that you know can be successful.
Okay, so like for an example, let's use my son. I need your room cleaned up.
What does that mean?
Can we pick up, can you be in charge of the clothes?
Awesome.
Is that what you're talking like? So
absolutely
one particular thing.
Yeah. And what do you mean by clothes? Can I throw them in the corner in the closet, or do they have to be on the shelf, organized into their separate spots? What do you mean? Do they just need to be in the hamper?
So just
what are we talking about?
Listen, okay, so I need you to pick up your clothes, or let's pick up your clothes, right? And put them in the hamper. That's your responsibility in cleaning up this space.
Yeah. And then, hey, guess what I'm going to do? I will pick up the hamper and I'll bring it to the laundry room. Awesome. High five. Done. It's over.
Positive reinforcement. I love that.
And you're a team. And it's not going to be perfect all the time.
Right.
It's not, I talked to you about this, Susan. Timing is the crux of all of our dynamic nuances of relationships, right? We have someone's moving too slow, someone's moving too fast. They're not getting something done when you want it done. There's the conflict. So your child isn't saying, no, I won't clean up. They might be saying, I'm not available at this exact moment when you needed me to. So we take that mental note and we say, hey, next time I'm going to plan with them earlier so we don't run into this argument when I need it done.
Right.
So we kind of have to backtrack.
So what I'm hearing is a great foundation and then each time tweaking it. I know for myself at preschool, and you touched based on it, making it fun, freeze cleanup, or, getting the cute little baskets and making them put it in those cute little areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because I mentioned, I know there's so many other questions, but because I mentioned the sensory system and really collaborating with this whole body experience, timing is critical in cleaning up. Organization is critical. These are all functions that aren't always so easy, especially for our little ones, and also for our big ones that we maybe didn't realize it. And now they're teenagers and we're like, hey, there's actually always been a problem with executive functioning and organization and planning. But now it's really frustrating because they're not as cute as they used to be. So we break steps down and we can use sound. I love music therapy or therapeutic sound work where you can put on a rhythm or timing to get that movement going. Again, modeling with your body. How fast are we? Using imagery. Let's clean up as fast as a cheetah or as stealth as a, tiger. Yeah. What are we doing? Right. So using those as extra tools.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for that question. Another question that was asked. Now, she said her 7-year-old is experiencing panic attacks around dinner time. And they helped him settle down, took him upstairs, laid with him. He fell asleep. Now, every time at the dinner table, he's saying he feels a tightness in his chest and he doesn't feel good. So I believe the question is, could it be her son's panic attacks that are mostly psychosomatic? Is it normal for a 7-year-old? Is it the stress of the pandemic? What is your take on panic attacks during this time, during dinner time?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear this about this little guy having this experience. What I want to emphasize first and foremost is even that word psychosomatic, we have kind of this historical lens of thinking that it's made up. And I really want to bring to attention and mindfulness that what the body is experiencing is a direct parallel process to what we're experiencing emotionally.
Mm.
So if the child's giving us information in their body, my body's tensing up, clenched chest, breathing gets heavy, eyes are big and dilated, skin feels hot. You know, these are all a sign that to your body that I'm physiologically under threat. I'm under attack. This is not fake. This is how our brain has been from the beginning of time. It's this lower limbic system response. And it says fight, flight, or freeze. What I love in that answer is that they took him out of the threatening environment. Obviously, we know that as parents experienced, the kitchen and dinner wasn't threatening, but for some reason, for this child in this moment, it was. So I really appreciate taking that child out of that space and then really celebrating to that child, giving permission to say, hey, your body is so brilliant and wise and it's giving you information. And I'm admiring how you're slowing down. Look how you achieved that. When you are able to recognize your child and really stay with them in that hardship, they come out of it. Feelings are transient. They come in and they go out. And if we are attacking back, saying get over it or snap out of it, we're creating more threat. So once his body and brain are calm, he can get out of that reactivity or that the sympathetic threat and saying, hey, now I am ready for rest and digestion. His body shut down. That's a great sign that, yes, he felt under attack, that his body actually shut down. So we don't want this to happen again. We want to support him. So my questions would be, how prepared is he about coming into dinner time? Does he know it's happening? Is it the same time as he's familiar with? How can we set up the environment so that he knows and anticipates this experience? How can he be a collaborative part of the cooking and preparing for dinner so that his body's already acting and moving? The great news about when we're being physical with our body is our system, our brain, is able to feel integrated and less threatening, right? If you were being attacked by a bear, but you were dancing or eating or drinking, you wouldn't be feeling so threatened, right? You'd be like, I'm good, right? I'm dancing with the bear. How fun is this bear? Not really a threat. So having him be a part of it. The other part about it is to think, when you were talking about that, I was wondering about the time of dinner. I was wondering about the physiological feeling of exhaustion and overload. And I would be curious if the child is napping earlier in the day or taking a mindfulness break, and also potentially even moving the meal up in the day so that possibly he has enough reserve to eat before he feels depleted and then he gets to go to bed. So let's play with time of day. Let's play with his incorporation into the activity. And let's play with these kind of a go-to method of what to do when your child's in fight, flight, or freeze. Right. Is survival. So we want to tell him, the person, hey, I'm mom, I'm with you. The place, hey, we're in the kitchen. I'm noticing the food is on the table. What does it look like? And then the plan, I'm going to sit with you and we are going to start with the broccoli or the chicken. Which one are we going to start with? I'm wondering what we're going to eat first. So really slowing down as you hear all these themes of timing. But when we give that child that ability to see that we're safe, then he can get into this food.
Wow, I really like that.
Now, of course, Susan, of course, Susan, like panic attacks are real. Anxiety and that nervous system response, those threats are real. He is not trying to be difficult or bad, but there's certainly a need or an adaptive response happening that this child's needing. So if it is more critical, we definitely want to make sure you're calling the doctor. We definitely want to rule out, is he having an allergic response or a toxicity going on in his body? Obviously looking at resources, whether it's a psychologist such as myself or other resources, other psychologists out there. We are experts in this area to support this child, because when you're asking, is it typical? Is it common for a 7-year-old to have these feelings? It is possible that other 7-year-olds have these feelings, but it does not mean this has to be the typical experience for your child.
Wow, that's incredible. So I'm hearing slow down, bring him back into the present moment, mindfully step by step go through the process of dinner, talking to a professional, and maybe adjusting the schedule a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So our next question, I hate to just kind of get you
Oh, it's fine.
going
I love
through
it.
it, but we've had so many wonderful questions and I just love talking to you. I have my notebook here taking notes.
Me too. Me too.
So the next one is a little bit about sibling rivalry.
One of my favorite topics.
Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly read what she said. And she said, hey, Susan and Dr. Lori, I have a question about sibling jealousy. My kids are 4 years apart. My oldest is sensitive, strong-willed little girl. She will be 7 in March.
Okay.
Ever since she brought her son home, which he is now 2, we recognize that she has her own things and she has plenty of one-on-one time. However, when her brother comes back from daycare in the afternoon, the emotions are heightened. So
Sure.
what is your input on that sibling? How do we get everybody to kind of be as one in a family?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to celebrate that connection. And it's a process. Social learning theory, it is a process. And we often forget that we learned it. We learned how to play together. We learned how to share space together. We learned how to take turns. These are all developing skills, just like math and reading. And so just to give parents permission that it is a timing experience. What I hear is how supportive this sister is about this little brother of hers. I hear that the family is really wanting to have individual time with each child and really setting them up. So I'm curious if you have a schedule. Is there something visual for our little friends to see who gets what? So when does your daughter see that the purple sticker is where she's by herself doing some independent play? When is her purple sticker with daddy's green sticker? When's her purple sticker with mom's red sticker? And when's her purple sticker with her brother who is blue? And, so she can see, when does this all happen? When's everyone all together? When does she see all 4 stickers across in the same activity? This does not always have to be the same, but we can adjust it around. She might even want to predict and decide where her purple sticker goes. So that's just one of many visual tools that we can use. The other part is I'm wondering what's happening right before her brother gets home. How is she anticipating him entering the room? And what can she set up for him so that he is prepared to have that special time with mom or dad? And what is she ready to do? What activities are for her that you can hold and not do during the day when her brother's not there, but wait for them to be planned and presented to her for like her own time when he's home. We also want to encourage language. So really taking away the idea of like you're being mean, and I'm not saying this parents saying these words, but just thinking about if we're judging, like you're jealous or you're being competitive or you're being difficult. I mean, these are just some words that I often hear. I know even as a parent, I might feel them with my own children or other children. This is all, we are judgmental people. We have thoughts and opinions about almost everything. So just stripping away those words and just talking about movement is what I always like to encourage. So you're moving really close to your brother, and I'm really needing us to move further apart right now. I'm wanting us to sit over here. You're moving really fast and your brother's moving slower right now. So really pointing out what it looks like, or you're both moving really fast and I'm wondering who's going to go first. So really talking about what it looks like in their bodies can really help your daughter to slow down. There's that theme again today, and see that there are some choices she has.
I love the visual chart. That just seems like it would really be supportive of the daughter. Yeah, to visually see it. I love that. All right, so a big topic in our community is to spank or not to spank. So what is your thoughts on spanking if a child is being disruptive, not listening to you, and you've reached your end and they're just not getting it? What to spank or not to spank?
Right. So for those listening out there in a mindful platform, I'm imagining a lot of shoulders are tensing up and kind of maybe a really uncomfortable feeling in the pit of your stomach, whether you've had that your own experience from your own family upbringing, or you had a particular judgment of what you think parenting should or should not look like.
Mhm.
And since we're all being mindful of each other, I just want to first put out there that this is, again, a process. And we don't always know what's going on with everybody's emotional system and their lifestyles and their choices and what they were taught. So I encourage us to kind of strip away the judgment and think about what our intentions are. When we are trying to discipline our child, discipline means to teach.
Yeah.
It means that there is some learning. So if a child does something, they, for instance, take a cookie, and we were to spank them, that direct contact to their body does not have any relationship to the cookie taking. The
Yeah.
child does not know what else to do when they would like to feel a reward like a cookie. And let's insert too much technology. They sneak something, they take something, or they tell you something that they said they didn't do, but they say they didn't do it, but we know they did it.
Yeah.
All these examples, right? Endless examples of what we could potentially get disappointed by or triggered by. How are we teaching them what they can do? So in my experience, I would love for us to remove the physical contact and change it into a lesson that's able to be implemented and carried out. The child needs to be able to learn, and they also need to know how to predict what the expectation is.
Right.
So before you ever get reactive to the point of like, you're already in there, you're already doing the spanking, you're already raising your voice, does the child know that that was the consequence? When you do this in this household, this is what happens. Did they know that you were about to flip out? Did you let them know, hey, like, I'm at my limit, this has happened now, and I'm really feeling like I'm telling you what I need to see, I'm right here with you, joining you to teach you about it, and now I'm really feeling like this needs to get support? How are you getting support as a parent before you're using physical contact? Are you seeking out professional support? Because there are so many ways to look at a situation and resolve this so that your child can be successful. There are also other ways for you to let out your frustration or to teach something. So again, seek out support, not only from the group, but in terms of like your own safety. When are you able to get out of that fight, flight, or freeze moment where you're reacting and more responding? If a child's doing something over and over again, it's because they don't understand its purpose.
Right.
That's it. We go towards things that are safe and we move away from things that are threatening.
Right.
If our child keeps doing something that's threatening and harmful to your family dynamic, to your relationship, it means that it's threatening to them and they don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, and, the generation before us as parents, I mean, that was how they handled, not that it was right or wrong for them, but because that's how they were taught. And so having to unlearn something that was taught to us can also be really difficult.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And the main elements of that spanking, being clear, strong, direct, these are qualities you can still be without harm.
Right.
Okay? So you can raise a voice, you can be stern, loud, you can be quick to the point, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think about what a hit sounds and looks like in movement, the quality of it, those qualities, use them to be clear if that's needed, but we don't need to get harmful.
Right.
We want to model what we'd like to see. But like you said too, so I have to say this, how do we change something that we were taught?
Yeah.
Or it just instinctually comes out of our body, whether we meant to or not. And then there's all the shame and regret about it afterwards. So one of the tools I like to use is, while there's a lot of clinicians that talk about mantras, like saying to yourself, this too shall pass, or it's not personal, or take 5 breaths, I'm going to breathe, I'm going to breathe. Sometimes in the moment, it's really hard to do. So those are all fantastic tips. Another alternative is to really focus in on the sensory experience you're having in that moment. Are you being reactive to your child's, the visual of it? Like you saw their facial expression, roll their eyes at you. Did you look at the visual of them, the space being so messy, and that's the 18th time you've told them and the visual feels so flooded?
Yeah.
Is it because they're touching you and they're tapping you and you feel like, oh my gosh, can't stand the touching? Whatever it may be, what sensory experience is being lit up? What's turned on? And then you can replace it or counteract it with a different sensory experience.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So if I see a big mess and I'm someone that wants something clean, instead I'm going to focus on touch, and I'm going to pay attention and focus my awareness on my amazingly cozy sweater when I walk into that really messy space. I'm going to pay attention to my sound, the beautiful laughter of all the fun that everyone's having in the mess.
Right.
And then the mess isn't so all consuming. I don't feel like reacting.
Emotions a little bit too, right?
So that's the question for the parents out there. When you're being triggered, when you're being charged, what part of your body is being lit up? Where's that fire? And then see how you can diminish it or kind of extinguish it, or even just turn the light down a little bit. You can still have a feeling about it, like I don't want messes, but we turn it down so that we're not hurting anyone with that flame.
I love that. I love that. I feel like this is something we should continue talking about too eventually. I know this is just a quick little question, but I like to further expand on it because, you know, you've given such great tools, and I want to touch back in with you after I try to kind of de-escalate when I walk into a messy room, because it happens a lot. So what is triggering me when I walk into that room? So I'm interested in kind of playing with what you're saying and then revisit this conversation again.
Right. And there is that dichotomy, right? There's this piece of like, is this affecting me and I'm reacting and it's about the work I need to do? Yeah. And then also, is it about the child and teaching this lesson that I really feel is imperative, that I have a fear if they don't learn it now, how are they going to survive in society? Or what will that reflect on me as a parent? Or, you know, these fears that come up for us. So there's these two elements here, and they're both equally important.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lori.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Joining me and answering some of the questions that have come up in our Facebook group. Where can people find you for any more, you know, because I just love you and I want
Thank you.
So where can people find you?
Yeah, so easy. My name, drloribaudino.com. So that's DrLoriBaudino. I almost forgot how to spell my name. drloribaudino.com, and also on Instagram and all those other social media, Facebook's at Dr. Lori Baudino. And please, I love answering these questions. This is a time more than ever that we are needing to come together as a community, and there's support here.
Yeah, so I will be calling you again.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lori, for your time.
You're welcome. Bye.